What's the difference in this team since the start of the season? It seems to me the turnaround all started in the fourth game of the year, that the overtime win over Winnipeg. They were down 4-1 heading into the third. They tie it, they win. Boost of confidence. And here we are, gone through the Murderers Row, so-called Murderers Row part of the schedule in October. And they've gotten points from all those games, including a whole bunch of wins.
They just look more determined, like they did 2 years ago. Like, we'll show you. And then, they're winning games. They could, but they're 3-1 in the overtime, okay? They could be 1-3 too. They could have 2 fewer points, but that would still only be 2 fewer points. So they are winning the close games. They've won a lot of close games this year. Beat the Rangers by 1 as well. So they're winning the close games, and the goaltending's better.
2 years ago, Cam Talbot made those big saves in the first period when he had to. He kept the score 1-0, or he kept the score even after the first period, allowing the Oilers to kind of find their legs. And I see the same thing happening this year. In the first game against Nashville, he really kind of kept the team in the game, and then the Oilers kind of took over in the second and third period. Did the same thing in Boston, did the same thing with the Washington Capitals. So he's keeping his team in the game while they're trying to find their stride. And for whatever reason, this team doesn't get off to a good start. They will always kind of take a while to kind of get warmed up and get going. 2 years ago, Cam Talbot was keeping him in the game. Last year, he wasn't. Last year, the Oilers were going into the intermission down 2-0, down 3-0. Game was over. You can't climb that hill. This year, they're not. They're at 0-0 or they're tied. They're tied 1-1 or whatever it is. And the game is still there to be taken over, and the Oilers are doing that. And I see that now. And that's why, to me, this year is resembling a lot like 2 years ago when they got the 103 points because of the goaltending right now. He's keeping him in the games when the team is still not ready to go.
Koskinen played really well, I thought, in Nashville. A huge sigh of relief, I'm sure, for the coaching staff, the goaltender coach, the general manager who signed him, and the players who left to play in front of him, because they weren't too sure after some of those early exhibition games what they were getting, and I thought he played quite well in Nashville.
I think they are looking, one, you got to get to the playoffs too, but then you don't want to have your goaltender be burnt out by the time you get there. So I think they are kind of, that's why they brought him in this season, because they felt that he could spell off Cam Talbot. And for the first game, good for him. He came out. He had a shaky preseason. People were not sure about him. They said he's kind of leaky. He lets a lot of stuff go through his arm and his body. And I thought he played extremely well against Nashville.
It's been, and that's been his only game so far this year. So I guess we'll wait and see for the next one. Mm-hmm. But you need to go into that situation. You're going into play Nashville. I think at the time was the top of the standings in the NHL, 2 years removed from a Stanley Cup final, and to play the way he played and backstop them to the win, only letting Forsberg score. I mean, that's impressive.
It's impressive, and the one thing about being a backup goaltender, the one plus for being a backup goaltender, the rest of the league doesn't know you.
Yeah,
you don't play very often. They don't know your weaknesses. Now, in preseason, it looked like he had a weakness with his glove hand because goals were going up high on him, but they didn't go up high on him in Nashville. So that is a plus for a backup, but Derek's absolutely right. There's a lot of pressure on a backup before he establishes himself as a good backup in the NHL who doesn't feel that every game he has to play has to be an 8 to 10 on the scale, knowing that he just has to play well enough to give his team a chance to win, as the starter does. And if he plays a couple more like that, the coach, as I said, the coach will be happy, and the goaltender coach and everybody else, and that $2.5 million they're paying him, as long as he wins the games, they won't care.
Yeah, if he comes in and if they get to a point where they're not seeing a significant drop between the starter and the backup, and they have confidence in him and the team has confidence in him, then the $2.5 million won't matter.
Sure, and I guess it depends on the team too. I mean, obviously that's top of mind. I mean, there's so many other things, like we said. I think about defense, and we kind of go from the crease to the blue line. Oscar Klefbom's play. Now, Oscar Klefbom last season was nursing a shoulder injury all year long. This year, he's healthy. He had the surgery after the season, or not even late in the season, right? He was taken out of the lineup and had the surgery, and now he's back, and he looks like he was 2 years ago.
He does. 26 minutes a game, only one defenseman in the league playing more than him, Drew Doughty, and not by a whole lot. And 26 minutes a game That's a lot of minutes. But when you're on the power play and you're on the penalty kill and you're also on 5-5, it's much like Ryan Suter, who the Oilers will see on Tuesday, who's in the same situation. He plays in all three disciplines, and that's why he plays so many minutes. So it's a huge plus for the Oilers to have one defenseman who's at the absolute top of his game, and then he's got a good partner who, if he plays a few minutes less because he doesn't play in the power play, is still very capable, and Adam Larson to help him. And they have one really good pairing right now that they can play against all the other teams' best players too, and I think that's the greatest plus for Todd McLellan. He knows now, because Klefbom's healthy, he can play him against the other team's better players, and he's not playing with one arm. He's strong enough when the puck's in the corner to keep people out, and he's strong enough to get people out in front of the net.
Todd McLellan is going heavy with his top four, and when you have guys like that playing heavy minutes, playing well over 20 minutes, your top four defenseman, that can be a grind on you. So I think if there's a concern on the back end, that would be the concern, is that these guys are playing well, but they have to play him a lot for the Oilers to be successful right now, and I think that's an issue that they'll probably look at and try and resolve in some manner, because you just can't keep playing your guys 22, 23, 24 minutes a night, and Klefbom 26, 27 minutes a night. That's going to take a toll on them.
One of the topics, simmering on the stove is, how long will Evan Bouchard last in the NHL lineup? Once he plays 9 games, then you're eating up a year of his entry-level contract.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have, is it up to 40 games before they have to keep him for the year? Can't send him back to junior?
I don't see the advantage of sending him back to junior myself. I think he would conserve his energy to play the 30 minutes a game he'd be playing in London. I wouldn't say he'd get bad habits, because Dale Hunter's the coach. But when you play lots of minutes, you lose the edge you had when you were playing against men, and you're back as a 19-year-old playing against 16 and 17-year-olds who aren't as strong, and you can kind of do what you want to do. So it's not like he's the 7th best defenseman on the Oilers, and he's played 7 games.
Yeah.
He's far from that. So as long as he's in the tops, if you consider him one of your top 6 defensemen, I think he should still stay here.
I don't see any advantage at all sending him back to junior, to be honest with you. And like Jim said, I think he will. He's not going to get any better going back to junior. You only improve playing against competition that's better, and you improve by practicing here every day with the Edmonton Oilers, by working with the Oilers coaches. But I think if you ease him in there, and I think if you develop him along, he's going to be fine. I watch Bouchard play, and I don't say, oh, he's out of his element here. He's way out of his league.
You know why he's not out of his element? Because he's big. He's 200 pounds.
Yeah.
If he weighed 175, like a lot of those high-end first-round picks who are defensemen, who are offensive defensemen, you'd say, oh, he's too small.
Yeah.
But he's 200 pounds. So he's able, I think, in the physical situations, at least handle himself. But I think he thinks the game like an offensive player,
Mm-hmm.
and he's playing defense. So I think he thinks the game like the player's coming at him. What are they going to do here? And that helps him.
And he's got a great shot from the point. He's got a great shot from the power play, and that goal he scored, if you break down that goal he scored, he's kind of walking the line, and he shoots the puck in mid, he doesn't settle it and wait and shoot it. He shoots it in mid shot. So that's why it caught everyone off guard. They weren't expecting it to be and he got a lot on it. Hope he said he didn't even see it. He was looking for him. He saw he's walking the line, and then the shot went past him. And I think that's the skill that he brings. And the Oilers, honestly, outside of Oscar Klefbom, do they have an offensive guy like that can run the power play? Probably not. And if you just spell him off and you play him and he can be on your second power play unit, why not? He's going to get better playing here, and he's not going to get better playing in London, in my opinion.